If you've ever stood in front of a mirror telling yourself that you are a powerful, confident person while your brain's screaming back at you, no you're not, then this video is for you. The truth, most of us are doing affirmations all wrong. We're actually lining them up as if they're a bit of a shopping list. But our brains aren't daft. It knows that we're lying to it. It's like you're trying to tell yourself you're an Olympic runner, but your brain knows, no you're not. And that's why we end up back in the shame cave and wondering why it is that even affirmations don't work for us. But what if the secret isn't actually just saying the words? What if the secret sauce to this is feeling the words? Today I'm sharing the technique that changed everything for me. And cringe alert, a story from a lagoon in Iceland that still to this day surprisingly makes me quite emotional. So we're going to rewire those gnarly gremlin thoughts together, and I'm going to teach you the very method that I used in order to make positive affirmations work for me, work for you. Let's get into it. Positive affirmations work best when we sit with the feelings of the words. What do I mean by that? Now please don't run off and think that you're going to be, captured into some sort of woo-crew thing here. Think of the word kindness, for example, or kind on its own. Notice how that feels in the body. How does the word kind feel to you? You might even get a sense of some warmth from the word kindness. You might even get a sense of maybe even some memories pop up for you of a time when someone was kind to you or a time when you've been kind to someone else. But when we sit with that word, I am kind, notice what happens. It might feel comforting in the body. It might feel, there's proof of me being kind, because the brain will start to scan for examples, memories, and times when you have been kind to others. Please also include yourself in this kindness as well, all right? Because you've not to leave yourself out here. But when we say I am kind and we offer that as an affirmation statement, please, for the people out there who just say things like, oh, that's just who I am, that's not really a good example of me being kind, that's just the person. Please don't water down your examples of being kind and your kindnesses, all right? So who do positive affirmations work for? They work for anybody, to be honest with you, but they especially work for people who have negative self-talk. Positive affirmations really did do something wonderful for my life. They allowed for me my negative inner chatter was really quite poor actually, and sometimes it can be, especially when I'm stressed or if I've messed up. My negative inner chatter can come in and it can absolutely give me a doing. All right, and this is what we want to try and change. We want to try and make sure that we can use positive affirmations in a way that's useful, in a way that can have meaningful change for you, for your life. And when thinking about positive affirmation statements, you can use anything at all. So we sat with the example of I am kind and kind of listened to ourselves and how and what feelings that brought up for us, if it was a feeling of warmth and comfort. But what about saying something like, I am loving, I am useful, I am a good friend, I am trying, I am honest, I am trustworthy, I am approachable. And notice how they feel. All of those affirmation statements, yes, they roll off my tongue because I've practiced affirmation statements since about 2016 and listened to them constantly. And with affirmation statements, when we kind of sit with them and we experience them and we practice and rehearse, what happens is the part in the brain that I was saying earlier on about changing those neural pathways just begins to alter how you think about yourself. So imagine, for instance, you were taught to do something a certain way, and then all of a sudden something comes along and says, nope, you have to do it this way now. It might take you a wee moment to start practicing doing it the other way, but eventually you'll get on board and you'll start to, and that other way will now become the new way or the only way, and that's how you go about it. And that's really what we're trying to do with positive affirmation statements. Just rewire the neural pathways so that automatically it doesn't come into you taking, the kind of knee breaker to yourself, that what you're actually doing is saying something that's useful, something that feels good. Now you can also be playful with positive affirmation statements, right? So you can say things like, I am a butterfly who has escaped from the cocoon. Well, maybe I will not say escape, but I'm a butterfly who has been released from the cocoon. How nice is that, right? Because it brings you this sense of freedom, this sense of expansion. Or how about, I am made from stardust. And that's a true story. You are, every one of us, made from stardust. The stuff that the stars are formed of is within each and every single person around the world. Nobody's left out here. And if we think about that, I am made from stardust, right? Really sit with that for a moment. It might even bring up feelings of being part of something even bigger than who you are. And often when we feel connected to something even bigger, that really does bring about a sense of well-being, a sense of deeper connection, a sense of, oh, I'm part of something actually. Now, here's something else to think on. When we talk about positive affirmations, you don't really want to daft to yourself, right? Because you're not going to turn around and say to yourself, I'm as fast as Usain Bolt, because guess what's going to happen here? Your brain might not believe you, or if you are as fast as Usain Bolt, then go on yourself. But your brain might not actually believe you and might go, okay. And chances are it won't believe you because it's looking for the evidence to show that it's true, all right? But maybe if you says, I am running at a pace that's, my version of Usain Bolt, maybe that would be an affirmation statement that you could include there. But we don't want to be telling the brain lies. So we don't want to be saying things like, I'm as strong as the strongest man, because again, that's something that turns around and says, well, actually, no, I'm not as strong as the strongest man. I have this strength. So those wee knock-ons might just bring about a sense of disbelief and not encourage you actually to stick with the positive affirmation statements. Now, don't let that put you off, okay? Because we've still got the butterfly who escaped from the cocoon. Now, even at that, right, I know you're not a butterfly. I know you're not leaving a cocoon. But you also know that when you say things like that and really feel into how that feels, there's a sense of the expansion that I spoke about earlier. So with positive affirmation statements, we especially want to change the way that those thoughts loop in the brain. You know the thoughts I'm talking about, right? The wee gnarly ones that come in that feel a bit spicy. The ones that tell you that you're not good enough. How could you think that? How could you say that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We want to visit those ones and we want to change the way that those thought loops run in your mind, all right? And back in 2018, I went to Iceland with my husband, Martin. And when we were going to Iceland, we had this plan that we would go to one of the lagoons, because you have to when you're there, right? You've got to go. And Martin, being who he is, doesn't enjoy being with lots of other people, especially because his wife here tends to make friends with folk. We had decided that we would look into the Secret Lagoon, and it involved a whole day trip, and it would end at the Secret Lagoon for us. And I think that we had to be at the waiting point for pickup at about 7:30 or something. But here's Martin waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I could feel him tossing and turning, tossing and turning. And what had happened was I thought, oh, I'm going to need to see if he's okay. So I turned and said to him, is everything all right? And he whipped his neck round so fast and he was like, did you know that in the Secret Lagoons, we're going to have to shower naked before we get in there? And I could already see that he was really panicked by this. There was a real panic to him. And in my mind, I was going, aye, okay then. No, we don't. And for the entire day, he kept on saying it, like he kept on saying, no, we really do, we have to. And I thought, oh no, we don't. And in my brain, I'm going, not a chance. No way, why would they do that? So on the day went, and we were having a lovely time, or at least I was, and the thoughts that were going on in his head circling was, oh no, we're going to have to go and shower naked before getting in here. Anyway, that aside, we were on this bus, right? And the bus that we'd chosen to go on was ourselves. It was a 12-seater bus, or 12 visitors going on this tour. 12 of us. So there was Martin, myself, and a group of 10 hens. So we were on this bus with a hen party of 10. Great. And off we went on our jolly travels. It was wonderful. Just before we get to the Secret Lagoon, the last stop of the day, I will never forget his name, Trond. Our Icelandic tour guide for the day stands up And he says, in Iceland, we shower naked before going into the Secret Lagoon pool. And in my mind, I went, oh, effing Jeff. But Martin turned round, quick as, and it almost felt like one of those scenes from a cartoon or a movie. See, I told you. And every single part of me was like, oh no. My inner thoughts went to, we went in February, by the way, so my inner thoughts went to, why did you have to have so much food at Christmas? Why haven't you lost the weight that you said you wanted to lose? Why don't you do this? Why can you never stick to anything? And on and on and on it went. I was really, really giving myself such a hard time, and looking around me at this group of women who were there, knowing that actually I would be getting showered naked with the same group of women that were joining us on the bus. Shame immediately came in bucket loads for me. It absolutely came and smacked me in the dish. But there we go, quite the thing. And there was this moment on that bus where I was tempted to say, I'll just wait here. Because every part of me inside went, I just can't do this. I don't think that I would be able to get undressed in front of these women because of the body shame that I had at that time. And in we went, and, you know, the Boltron was saying, you know, males here, females here. And we walked through into these changing rooms, and these beautiful Icelandic land mermaids are walking about with their gorgeous, glossy, glowing hair, naked, and there's me going, oh my goodness, I feel like a sack of totties. Oh no. Now, I had my bathing costume on already for the entire day, right? Thinking that we'd just be getting in. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to now take my clothes off, take my bathing costume off. How am I going to navigate this? What am I going to do? And I stood there and I saw a lot of the women that I'd been on the bus with. And Martin was, you know, in the other changing room just getting on with what he had to do, because he's prepared himself for the whole day for this. Me, I've only just believed it in the last 10 minutes. And I open my bag and I start rooting about. What I'm rooting about for, I have no idea, because everything that has to happen is currently on me and needs to come off. And I'm rooting about in this bag. And what had happened in that moment was watching these other ladies, not just kind of peeking up and looking around, and I see everyone who I'm on the bus with, and they're holding themselves in, they're kind of holding themselves together. And what happened for me then was so instant that the positive affirmation statements that I had listened to for years started to come into my mind. I'm learning to love the body that I'm in. I'm learning to be kinder to myself. And when this happened, what happened? Why can't I feel a bit emotional sharing this right now. And when this happened, and when these words came in, automatically I felt my body relax. Oh, thank goodness. I felt this sense of, you know, that way when your belly's really tight because you're just holding in. My belly softened, my shoulders relaxed. I stopped looking for whatever it was that I was looking for in that bag. I still have no idea. And I started to get changed, and I started to think to myself, every single statement that was going on in my mind was a positive affirmation statement that I had practiced. Now, this was 2 years of listening to them again and again. And it was all about kindness. And for me, it was all about, oh, I can stand tall here. I can take up space. I am good enough. I cannot wait to experience what I'm going to experience when I go through into this Secret Lagoon. And I'd got changed and I made my way to the shower, and I had a shower, and I was in my body absolutely buzzing, and I was so happy, because in that moment, for me, the negative self-talk was turned off from how could you, why didn't you, you're not enough, all of these things, into I am kind, I am good, I am enough, my body is a work in progress, or whatever else came to my mind at that time. I had my shower, and then, don't get me wrong, right, putting the bathing costume back on again is another matter, because see if you're somebody out there who can just effortlessly get into a bathing costume, good on you. I'm not. But I did have a laugh at myself jumping about and getting into my bathing costume. Great. And when I walked through those doors that took us to the Secret Lagoon, there was Martin with a can of beer waiting for me, waving, saying, come on in, it's great. And I was relieved. I was crying. And I'll be honest. Right? Reliving that memory, telling you that story just now, has actually brought up emotions in me that it's not that I forgot that story, it's just that it's so powerful because we can be so negative towards ourselves, especially when it comes to things like our self-image, you know, and especially because it comes to things when we are comparing ourselves to other people, how we should be, how we think that we should be, and whatever else. But seeing Martin standing in that Secret Lagoon with a can of beer telling me to get in, I was absolutely elated. I couldn't wait to get in. It was the best thing ever. And going in and just experiencing the geothermic pool and being there and thinking the earth is heating this space that we're in. This is from the earth. Oh my goodness. Wow, how lucky, how fortunate are we? And it was this, I am grateful. It was this, I am grateful, that absolutely finished me off, because I was so grateful in that moment that I was able to do exactly what I had planned to do. Don't get me wrong, in the morning when Martin had suggested that this would be the plan and he was all knowing on the bus with his smirk look saying, I told you so, it was all forgot about, because in that very moment what happened for me was this immense sense of gratitude for being in the body that I was in and looking around and being connected to every single person that was there. Not connected in a way that we knew each other, but I just felt that connection. And when I was walking out of the changing rooms, I really did want to shout back to the girls, it's all right, come on, because I felt myself have my head high, my shoulders back and my boobies forwards. It felt so good. So that's how good positive affirmations can work for you. It can change the way that you think. If you were somebody or are somebody who would say the most cruelest of things to yourself, into somebody who would say something that feels meaningful, that feels like you've got your own back, that also feels like you can be a wee bit of a friend to yourself as well. Go and be your pal. So if you are interested in how positive affirmations can work, or where to find a positive affirmation track, I've got one. And press like and subscribe, and then you'll be notified of when it is that you'll be able to receive it. I think it's 6 minutes and 20 seconds long. If you listen to that once a day, every single day, you wouldn't even have to carve out any time for it. There's no effort in it. But what it will do is it will begin to rewire how you speak to yourself. Press like, press subscribe, and please remember, be gentle with yourself.